So what I want to do, as I said, let's talk about the class. Can you guys see that? It's damn bright. I figure you can see that all right. I don't need to like dim the lights. Silence. Okay. Bodes well. Anyway, this is our course dim page. Hopefully you're somewhat familiar with this. This is where you're going to turn in all your homework. This is where you can access everything to do with the class. Syllabus is up here. I still do it kind of the older way because that's actually a very new thing. I access it through here. This is all of our class materials. You have syllabus. Oh, I can probably make that bigger for you, shouldn't I? All right, you have syllabus and other helpful documents. Each one of our units, they're each focused on a specific paper, okay? So everything, all of our homework, with like very, very few exceptions, for the first paper is going to be here, second paper here. I hope you're good at patterns. You see what I'm saying? So after you turn in that first paper, somebody's going to come to me confused, be like, I don't see it, because we're moved on to the second paper, right? Once you go inside that stuff, it's all organized chronologically. We start with the prompt every time for the paper, so that's at the top. There's the rubric. If you're super studious and you want to be on top of stuff, that's how I'm going to grade you when we get there, okay? And then all the homework for the first paper as we go is lined up, okay? So that's your first homework assignment right there. Second one, right? You guys can do this. It's not too hard. All right. Anyway, what we're dealing with today, syllabus and other helpful documents. We're going to talk about the syllabus. It's going to be a blast. I just want to point out a couple things. I may remind you of this at some point. There's an MLA template here. We're going to talk about MLA next time. Does anyone have no idea what I'm talking about when I say MLA? It's okay. Everybody? Okay, cool. Anyway, if you feel like you need some help, first of all, Google is a thing. I don't know if you guys know that. But if you don't want to do that for some reason, MLA template right there. You can plug and play, put your stuff in. It's an MLA, which is very helpful to you when it comes to your final assignments. You have an analysis template, which is what we're going to talk about all semester. Sort of the structural stuff when it comes to analysis. Things like how to properly build a body paragraph, how to properly build an introduction, blah, 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 blah. Revision prompt, which we'll talk about when we get there. And then a thing about commas. Not the most riveting material, I understand. But straight up, if you struggle with commas, and basically all of you do, I taught myself how to properly use commas when I was a student with this handout. I stole it from a teacher of mine. It's fucking, as far as commas go, it's like top shelf. Okay. All right, my name is Tim Payne. I go by Tim. I don't like the sound of it, but it is my name. I've been living with it for a long time. I understand most of you are probably uncomfortable with calling me by my first name, especially because damn near all of you are straight out of high school. That's okay, you know. You're not gonna bum me out by calling me Mr. Payne. I think it's weird. I sound like a supervillain, but it's fine. Whatever you're comfortable with, whatever is not like immediately insulting, right? Don't call me bitch, things like that. But anything in between, I'm pretty cool with, okay? Where was I? Oh, I'm from Douglasville, which is pretty close to here. Some of you may be familiar with it. That's all there is to say about it. They have a mall. I don't know. School. Okay, so I went here for my bachelor's. Did pretty well. I went here for my master's in literature, which works out because we're here talking about words and stuff. And then I went to the University of Alabama where I studied poetry for 3 years, I think it was. Taught a bunch. And yes, I'm super interested in the cake tonight, if any of you are wondering. I'm actually really bummed out. It doesn't start till 8. I normally go to bed around 9:30. Ugh. I'm gonna be so unhappy tomorrow morning. Like, if we win, I'll be happier, but just like with the not sleeping that I will do tonight as a result. Anyway, interesting fact. I'm not interesting. I'm married. I have 2 kids. I have 4 cats. I have a mortgage. Very just lame. But these are my boys. And they're very cute. I actually took this yesterday. Sorry about it. It's on Facebook. I was trying to log into Google Drive, and it's being real cute up here. So I just had to, my wife put this up. Those are my sons. They're very cute. And yeah, that's all I got. All right. All right, so anyway. What you would have seen at the top of the syllabus, and hopefully will in a moment, all my location information, my office hours, my email address. My email address is very easy to remember. It's tpayne@wesca.edu. There's another gentleman from the area that people call T-Pain. We look very different. I don't have a, well, you can't tell, but I don't. Tpayne, that is my name, @wesca.edu. I email a lot. I'm normally pretty on top of the email. Some of you know that already. It really depends on what you ask, to be honest with you. I used to be super on top of it no matter what before I had kids, but my life is not my own now. But if you send me, usually, if you send me an email that's like, doesn't take me like having to do some research or look some stuff up, I can get you back pretty quickly. But if I see it and it's like, well, that's gonna take a minute, I normally don't have that minute right then, so that may take a little longer. But I'm pretty on top of it. It comes right to my phone, you know. And that actually works as opposed to this hot garbage. What else? My office hours are on there. I didn't bother to memorize them because they're on there. That's why we write things down. I'm pretty sure they're Monday, Wednesday from 11 to 12. That's if you want to come to my SAD office. It's in Pafford 304J. J because it's a cubicle. Very sad. I do have a window though. And if you want to do virtual office hours, those are Tuesday, Thursday. We'll find out in a second, hopefully. I swear to God, though. All right, let's pull it up on my, no I can't because I'm recording. Anyway, there are virtual office hours, they're on the top of my syllabus. We'll just learn them together someday. What else do you need to know? That's pretty much everything from the top. What this class is. So this class, we're going to talk about social media kind of broadly, I suppose. The first book we're going to read, and we only read about half of it, to be honest with you. Aziz Ansari, Modern Romance. Has anyone ever heard of Aziz Ansari? Like one person? Man, you guys are missing out. Anyway, I think it's pretty funny. He's a stand-up comedian. This book is kind of old, though. It was first published in, like, what was it, 2013 or something? Let's see. 2015. So it's kind of old now. I've told myself the past couple semesters I'm going to find something else to teach you guys. But, as I mentioned, this is written by a stand-up comedian. It's just so damn accessible. Like most books I could find on the subject aren't really written for you. You know what I mean? So we would start reading them and you would hate me. I just don't feel like it's a good way to start the class. It's funny at times. It is, I think, really informative at the same time. It's a little nicer read. But one day maybe I'll find something else. Anyway, it's called Modern Romance. He focuses on apps like Tinder and OkCupid and stuff like that. So it's very, very specific. But we're going to use this as kind of a jumping off point when it gets to the rest of our class, again, to talk about social media a little more broadly. Because a lot of the things that a lot of the ideas he brings up will still apply to our wider conversation, okay? After that, by the way, the computer's just not turning on now, so this is hell. All of this. Now you can watch me plug in. Anyway, after that, for the second paper, we're going to watch a documentary. It's on Netflix. If you don't have Netflix, which I mean, don't we all have somebody's password at this point? I know I'm gonna run into somebody that's like, I don't have it. It's like, who are you? It's on Netflix. It's pretty good. The name is escaping me right now because I'm doing two things at once. The Social Dilemma. That's what it's called. Has anyone seen that already? You guys you're not a big documentary crowd, are you? No. It's not bad as far as documentaries go. We'll talk about it when we get there. I'm just praying to all the different gods that this works. All right. Hey, there's the mouse, though. That's pretty cool. That's a step in the right direction. Okay. All right. Virtual office hours, Tuesday, Thursday, 8:30 to 11. I know you were curious. Writing center is asynchronous. I'll talk about that. I feel so much safer now that I have this. I just want you to know. Social dilemma. Course themes and expectations. So I mentioned we're talking about social media, kind of how it affects us. I know because you guys were raised with it. I was not. I was in college when a buddy of mine made me a Facebook account. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very new for people like me, but you were kind of born into it. So I think sometimes you guys take a lot of that stuff for granted. But it does affect us in all kinds of ways, not just as a culture, but on an individual level as well. Some of it good, some of it nightmarish. And we'll talk about that stuff this semester. For the class itself, English 1101, this is your introduction to college level writing. I mentioned an analysis template. That's supposed to be like a safety blanket for you, right? On some deep dark night when you're having a hard time with a paper, you can go look at that. You don't have to write things in a template for me necessarily, but we're going to talk about these texts. We're going to think about them analytically on a sort of college level. We're going to pick out evidence. We're going to talk about it in specific ways to make specific points, whatever they might be. Yeah, and more on that stuff tomorrow, or Wednesday rather. Yeah, that's all I want to say there. Let me see. Here's a breakdown of our major assignments, when they're due, what they're worth. This will be on the prompts as well. This will also be on turnitin.com, which we use for our papers. I'll send you an email with that information. We have 3 papers. That's when they're due. That's what they're worth. Page counts, all that stuff. The rest of your grade. You have a final project, which isn't super intense, okay? That's 5% of your grade. Process writing, I want to underscore this for you. This is your homework, okay? This is everything you turn into me that's not a paper, okay? It's 25% of your grade. At the end of the semester, someone will say to me, hey, I talked a lot in class, why is my grade so low? And I will say, because that's not what this is. I don't grade you on that. I'm not writing down who talks. That's stupid. I don't have room in my head for that, okay? But 25% of your, this will sink somebody, and I hate it, because this is meant to help you. I grade on effort as far as homework is concerned, okay? So if you actually try on your homework, you're going to do well for a quarter of your grade. You feel me? Somebody's going to fail this class, I promise you, because they don't do fuck all for homework. But it's asking you to build your paper as we go. It's asking you to think about your final assignment, which is worth a big chunk of your grade, maybe before the night that it's due. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's trying to help you out. And generally, it's not terribly difficult. It's 25%. This is my plea. Do your homework, man. Yeah. Anyway. There's a bunch of other stuff there about grades. Rubrics, I told you they're on course then. What else? Okay, this is the important stuff. The schedule. You should use this. Most of you won't, but you should. Every class, it breaks down what we're going to do in class, homework due for that class if we had any, reading. Okay, so for this class, first day of class, cool. Review syllabus, we're doing it. We already introduced ourselves. I basically sort of showed your own course in a little bit. That's what we did today, right? We had no homework or reading because it's the first day. That would be insane. Next time, we're going to talk about the first paper. We're going to start practicing a little bit, some of the skills we're going to need for that first paper, okay? Reading due. You have no homework because it's second day. I'm not, that hardcore. Second day, though, you have some reading. I want you to look at the prompt on course 10. That's what CD means. Just look at the prompt for the first paper so you're familiar with it. If you have questions, you can come in with those, right? And I want you to read the introduction to Ansari. It is 10 pages. It's 10 pages. Some of you won't read it. And I ask you, does it bode well for you as a student if you can't get 10 pages read in 2 days? No, it does not. Read it, man. Come on. All right. Questions about any of that so far? Syllabus stuff. Yes?
Is the infrared on the what's it?
Is it on the website file? No. You gotta buy it. I assume the bookstore has it. That I'm not sure of. I told them to order it, but I don't go there because the bookstore is a shit show. If you can, and you may not have time now, I always get my stuff on like Amazon or somewhere online where it's cheaper, you know. I have heard students in the past have found like PDFs of parts of the book online that they used until they got a real copy. And you can look around for that. I would always recommend trying to get the book just because sometimes websites go down, sometimes something's not going to work electronically. We witnessed that about 10 minutes ago, right? But you have the book, right? It's harder for this to malfunction unless you just lose the damn thing, right? So I would recommend trying to get a hold of the book. It's been out for a couple years. It was wildly popular when it first came out, so you can find a used copy even pretty cheaply. There may even be there's a joint on the square in town called Underground Books. They sell used books, and sometimes people will trade in like old textbooks. There may be some copies there. You can look around, but yeah. Okay. Other questions about the syllabus? What else? I mark important days on the syllabus as well. So there's, drop ads right there. MLK, a week from today, we won't have class. Spring break, all that stuff, which you guys know when spring break is. I don't know why we have to put that on the syllabus, but it's there. Attendance. We're all wearing masks, so that shit basically goes out the window. Late work. I don't really take it. That said, if something happens, or especially if you know something is going to happen, like I have an appointment with such and such, or I have to climb a mountain tomorrow, or a dwarf takes my sister's soul. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anything comes up that you have to take care of, because life stuff will come up, let me know. We'll figure it out, right? It's so much easier to get ahead of things rather than dealing with it after the fact, okay? In my experience. So especially if you know something is coming, just let me know. I'll hit you up relatively quickly. Normally my phone would be there, but I'm recording. But if after the fact, if something happened, let me know that, and we'll talk about it too, okay? But generally, especially if you're just like, I didn't feel like it. I don't usually take late work. That's just me. Papers, when you turn them in late, you lose 10 points a day. And that includes weekends. We're not talking about business days. You guys get funny with what a day means. Turn your papers in on time. Disruptive behavior, I very rarely have to, but I have done it in the past. I've kicked people out before. It was a lot of fun, I'm not gonna lie. But it's also awkward. The last time I did it, it happens once every like 2 or 3 years. But I remember the last time it happened because there was this one girl up here, not in this class, she was up here presenting, and there was just like this gaggle of young women in the back just like laughing and talking to each other. This girl was up here, like, some people struggle, and she was like, you could tell she's about to cry, like that sort of thing. And they're just like, and I was like, get the fuck out, And they did, and they slammed the door. Let's just avoid all that. Let's just be cool to each other. If you're not having the best time of your life in class, well, welcome to class. But just be respectful, nothing else, right? Like, pretend to be respectful. Act, Anyway. There's stuff here about plagiarism. There's a lot here about plagiarism, actually. Don't take papers. Don't buy papers. You can work with each other, but you got to be real careful you don't excessively collaborate. I think we all have like basic knowledge of plagiarism. But if you have questions, and I mean this, just like with the late work stuff, it is better to get ahead of it. Hit me up. We can talk about it. Because if it's after the fact, then I'm going to come to you. And that's just a different situation, right? We use MLA. I don't give extra credit. Somebody's going to ask. I'll say no. It's right there. Writing Center. I don't know that the hours are accurate anymore because stuff's super weird these days, right? But the Writing Center is a place on campus. It's in the TLC. You can go in person. You can submit stuff online. I work there asynchronously, which means people submit papers online. I have like 24 hours or whatever to look at them. I send them notes, send it back to them. But basically, they're a place online. Any written work you have, so not just English class, like I'll get philosophy papers in there, I'll get poli-sci stuff in there, sometimes people bring in like a resume, like you have to write why you should get a job. They're like, look, I really want this job. Make sure I don't look like an idiot. Whatever, right? Like anything you have written, when you're a student here, you have access to the Writing Center. They will help you with it. Me included, but there's plenty of people there that are really good at their jobs. So the information is there. You have to make an appointment, no matter what you choose with the Writing Center. You can call them, you can email them, set that stuff up. That's what that is. What else? There used to be, I may have taken it out. There's another thing here about, what is it called? The other tutoring folks. You work for them, right? No, the damn, I'm not going to remember because I've never used them in my life. We have other tutoring folks on campus as well. I believe they're out of what's the building?
Peer tutoring.
What happened?
Peer tutoring, academic coaching,
Hell
those are all
with it.
for Center for Academic Success.
That academic success. See, that's what I was looking for.
Okay.
Yeah. Center for Academic Success. They do like more general tutoring, so it can be written stuff, but it can also be like math, or the example I like to use. When it was explained to me, they even have what's called a life coach, which is just you can go in and like, hey man, I'm losing my mind. I can't figure out my schedule. They'll sit down with you and say, okay, this is when you go to class. Maybe this is where you take a break and try to get something to eat. You do your homework from this time to this time on this day, right? Like this is when you sleep. Like they help you with all kinds of stuff as far as being a student goes. So that's available to you as well. Okay? We're almost done, I promise. Title IX. This is the, we'll call it the darker section of the syllabus. Basically what you need to know is I am what's considered a mandatory reporter. I'm employed by the state, and due to several laws, if you tell me something, and you can, by the way, but if you tell me something that involves a legal activity, I'm required to report it. Otherwise, I can lose my job, okay? Now, in most cases, people are fine with that, but sometimes, and this is fine too, sometimes something will happen, somebody just wants someone to talk to, and they don't want it reported. If that's the case, unfortunately, I would recommend you do not tell me. Okay? Now, again, there's places on campus. We have a counseling center. We have patient victim advocates. There's the clinic on campus. I believe all three of those people are not mandatory reporters. So if you just want somebody to talk to and then figure out next steps later, that's what those folks are for, okay? There's also the cops. They will report it. That's their whole fucking job. But apart from me and the cops, if you want someone else to talk to, those other three folks, you get all kinds of people on campus that can help you out. I just feel like I should let you know, okay? Okay. Campus carry, I also mentioned this. I'm not allowed to say a lot about it. Take that for what it's worth. But if this is something that interests you, you have to go through, it's kind of through bandwidth. There's two websites you have to use. But basically, you're not just allowed to carry anywhere at any time. There are designated places and designated times. It's actually a little more litigious than you might imagine. And it's actually on you to know those places and times, right? So I just say, again, if that's something you're about, it would be in your best interest to look that shit up before you mess with it, okay? Because you could get in a fuck ton of trouble for getting that wrong. What else? Oh, there it is. Huh, I must have messed up. It should be. Anyway, there's the Center for Academic Success. There's some stuff you'll never click on. Okay, that's pretty much it. I'll take advantage of the mouse right now because I don't know why it disappeared before. Wait, nope, I got scared. Sorry. All right. Sweet. So, that's basically class. Yes, ma'am.
Are you still?
I forgot SI. Thank you so much. Is that what you reminded me of?
Yeah.
Fuck me. Yes. Her name is Grace. We mentioned it before. She's a very nice young woman. I'm going to do my best to encapsulate it, and then anything I screw up, like you just did, just help me out. So SI, supplemental instruction. Sweet. Grace is a student here. She did well in the class before. She's been trained up to sort of do all this, basically outside of class instruction. She sits in on class like you see now. She sees what we go over. She'll read I'm Sorry 2. It's a fun read, by the way. She'll look at the papers we have coming up. She'll have ideas about basically how you guys can practice the same sort of skills we talk about in class, right?
Yeah.
Now there are two primary, I think, bonuses to interacting with Grace as opposed to me. Number one, it's just more practice, right? Sometimes we need that. Some people feel like maybe too prideful or whatever to go looking for that sort of thing. Don't be. You need help, you need help. We all do. I got a D in math. The only reason I wasn't a 4.0 is I got a D in math. College algebra. Because I'm not that guy, just up here. I'm not. But I was also an English major, and I doubt this is still the case, but at the time, that counted as passing for me. Isn't that fun? All the math teachers who were like, you'll need this. I'm like, I won't. But anyway, I could have really used some supplemental instruction in that class. I don't know how much it would have helped, but I couldn't have been much worse, right? The other bonus to maybe hanging out with Grace occasionally, and are you doing face-to-face this year?
I'm doing one face-to-face and one online.
Okay, because I know you do online as well, because again, but face-to-face as well, so we'll talk about that. The other bonus, I think, I have a manner of speaking. I'm older than you. I dare say I'm probably better read than you. No shots fired. That's just, I should be, right? I have a means of elocution that will occasionally kind of maybe go over your head a little bit. I don't mean for it to, right? I talk like I talk. You talk like you talk. Grace sounds a lot more like you guys. So maybe she'll make more sense sometimes, right? Lastly, I do offer bonus points on papers if you go to enough meetings. And I haven't quite decided on that. I want to talk to you after class real quick about this, Grace. But I'll bring it up next time. I'll let you guys. But like what it has been in the past is like 3 meetings gets you 5 points on a paper, which is half a letter grade. That's not nothing. I may do that this time. I have to think about it some, just because times are weird. But anyway, you go see Grace, work on your stuff, do that a couple times for every paper, and then when you turn in that paper, you get bonus points on the paper, which is, I think, a pretty sweet deal. Anything else you'd like to add?
I will send emails every week, if not more than one a week. But my first name is Erica, so my email will be ebeagle1. So don't think it's somebody else, because it's me. And I'll sign like Grace at the bottom, so you know it's me. But just a little disclaimer.
And actually, I'm glad you bring up email in general. You guys, just as a crowd, tend to not look at your emails. Which again, I get, because my inbox is a trash fire too, right? In terms of just all the nonsense I get. I get an email every 2 weeks from somebody reminding somebody who needs to know that they gotta turn in their time cards every 2 weeks. That ain't me. That's not, I don't, but I get that shit in my inbox, but I delete it. Like, I stay on top of my inbox. You guys don't. You probably should try. Not just for this class, not just for school. Like, that whole mechanism feels like going forward is just going to be a part of our lives. You know what I'm saying? You're going to miss some important things by not checking your damn email. So, try. Not least of which because Grace is going to be hitting you. Yeah, and do you have your times yet? Probably not.
I have a in-person session on Mondays from 1 to 2, and then my online is Thursday 9:30 to 10:30.
Okay. Now I assume that'll be in an email.
Yeah. I'll send it.
Can you send that to me as well? And I'll try to, I'll figure, maybe we can post it on CourseDen somewhere or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's more just like people can find it.
Mhm.
But yeah, so as I said, I'll come back at you with a number next class in terms of how many meetings for how many points, but it'll be in the ballpark of 3 meetings for 5 points on a paper, something like that. So much yapping on the first day, man, you know? Does anyone have any questions for me about anything we talked about at all? Yes?
In the event that, that we're quarantined or.
Yeah.
Or for some reason we're out, everything is online, correct?
Yes, I'm glad you bring that up. So like, I have a couple thoughts on that. Number one, absolutely, especially if something like that happens, I'll work with you. I'm doing my best to represent everything online, right? I'm gonna trim this down a little bit, like your introduction won't be here, I mentioned that. But I'll post this video later tonight, if not early tomorrow, and that'll be on CourseDen. So it'll be like you were silently sitting in class the whole time. So you will get that stuff, right? All our homework is online, the syllabus is online, so you can access pretty much everything, right? The one thing I'll add to that, and honestly, I think this goes for people with, I'll say, legitimate reasons for not being in class, as well as illegitimate reasons for not being in class. Stuff like, I'm tired, or fuck it. Those reasons. You miss class, you miss class. Like, this is me telling you how it impacts you as a student, okay? It will, unfortunately, make your life harder. It just does. You miss something, not least of which, I would not be talking about this right now if you had not asked that question. It would not have come to my mind. I was about to let you go, okay? And I will after this, I promise. But you wanted that information. And if you're at home, unless you email me, which many of you won't, you never get it, you know what I'm saying? So it makes life harder for you as a student. Also, what I found last semester when scores of you just stopped coming to class, again, sometimes for legit reasons, a lot of the times, no. What tends to happen to most of you, and this, again, this is not a shot, this is just real. You're not disciplined enough, and you may one day be, but you are not yet disciplined enough to be in a class like this and to purely be online. Because you'll start watching the videos. You'll watch about 10 seconds of it, and you'll stop. Because I can see that. I can see when you watch a video, I can see how long you watch it. 10, 20 seconds, that's about the average for most students last semester when they switch to just going online. And again, that's the equivalent of you popping your head in class, and you just like, and at some point you're gonna write me a paper. How well do you think that paper goes? Exactly. It ain't good. So I'm just telling you now, because I know some of you, I was gonna say in the back of your head, but it's at the front. Some of you are like, this is the last time I'm looking at this motherfucker. I'm not saying some people can't do it. I'm not saying it can't be done. But I'm saying most of you probably can't successfully navigate this class if you spend an extended period online. Maybe you start out hot, but then you're gonna stop watching the videos, then you're gonna stop turning in the homework, and you just stop turning in papers. And you just disappear. I don't know where you went. That's been my experience, especially last semester. So even if you have a legit reason, but especially if you don't, because those tend to go beyond quarantine, right? Know that generally it's gonna make your life harder. It's gonna feel easier because you're just gonna stay home, and that's awesome. We all know that. I know that. Staying at home rules. But in terms of getting things done, it makes your life harder. Because when I get up in the morning, I go downstairs, especially if I'm at home and my boys aren't there, what do I see when I walk downstairs? I see my Xbox. I see my fridge. That's pretty awesome. I'm going to interact with those two things all day. You know what I'm saying? Not a lot of work is going to get done. So that would be my addendum to my answer for you. Any other questions? Sweet. All right, for next time, hopefully we all make it back. As I mentioned, I want you to look at the paper one prompt. It's on CourseDen. I keep my prompts pretty short, but if you have any questions, especially, write those down, bring them in, we'll talk about them, okay? Also, I want you to read the intro from Ansari. It's like the first 10 or 11 pages. It's real quick. It's mostly funny, I think. All right. I'll see you Wednesday. Thank you, guys.